All right, welcome to Quality Banter episode 3. Finally are doing this after I guess a 2 week hiatus, but we're here and joining me today is Captain Koala, Koala Buck, and our special guest, actually one of the oldest members of this community is Ekum, who is a licensed psychotherapist. And before we continue, I just need to give a little quick disclaimer because we're going to touch a few topics that are encompassing the whole scope of mental health. So, the content provided is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this content should be construed or assumed to constitute personal or professional consultation. The information is not meant to diagnose or treat any mental health condition, and if you are experiencing a mental health emergency, please call emergency services or go to the nearest emergency room. Okay, and with that,
Dude,
we can get this ball going.
feel like we're in a
Yeah,
commercial here.
Yeah,
Welcome, Ekum.
it kind
I
of felt like it. So, yeah, do you guys just want to go ahead
Give a
and
warm welcome
say
to
hi?
Ekum. Yeah.
Yes.
How are you
Hello.
doing today?
I am good. Thanks for having me, you guys.
No problem.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to be
So,
here.
do you want to like kind of just briefly talk about yourself, your profession, how'd you get here,
Yeah.
koalas, everything?
Yeah. No problem. So, like profession wise, like yeah, I am a licensed psychotherapist. I've been working in that field for a little over a decade,
Hmm.
and I primarily work with trauma, anxiety, depression, and I work directly like with people, like doing therapy services. So people coming to see me like weekly or twice a month, and we work on kind of various things, whatever their goals are. And then for how I found Koala Club, just kind of messing around on Twitter and the Hedera space like super early, saw it pop up, and it really the community was something that really drew me in. Like the art was kind of cool, but I was so early that I only saw like a few sneak peeks, and I think I was one of the first that won like the Koala Bot, uh, like actual NFT that we ended up. Yeah. So I don't know
Oh, yeah, I
how early
remember
that
that
was. Like there
actually.
were like one or two of them or something out. So I actually had one. I think before, yeah, pre-sale.
It was a brown koala, right? One of
hmm
the brown koalas.
Yeah. So it's the
Yeah.
Koala Bot PFP.
Yeah, the
Oh,
yellow
nice.
background,
Okay, let's
leaf in his mouth.
go.
Yeah.
Eucalyptus.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you
So,
joined. You joined pretty early. You joined like December, like beginning of December time when we
Yeah.
just started out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty early, so it was like just the community was super cool. I definitely enjoyed the art. I just thought it was something different about like it was kind of like I was getting into the space a little bit more, so like stuff that I was kind of like a little bit later on, and it was like an established community, and like with this one, it just something drew me in, and I was super active, and yeah, I just really gravitated toward the community and everybody that was there. It's such a small community, anyways, so you see people in different channels, but yeah, this one just took off.
Yeah, we're
I
all
think
kind
back
of.
then as
Go ahead.
well. Sorry, I think back then as well there was like maybe what under 300 people in the server at the time, and
Yeah,
like we had barely 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Oh, we had a nice
It's
support line at
crazy.
300 in the Discord. That's the truth.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, the pre-sale. Oh my days. I remember in that 300 Discord how it just blew off.
Yeah, man. Oh, since we're on this subject or whatever, I know Big Chili, the AKA God Mod, he just wanted to know a question. He was wondering what makes Koala Club different than any other NFT projects on Hedera.
I think for me it comes down to I'm biased, right? But I think it's the community aspect with it. I just see people like super excited for one another. Like there's not a lot of drama in the Discord, and there's a lot of engagement. Like, what do you guys think we should do here? Of just bringing in like different polls and different suggestions and like actually things happening too. Like a lot of places say like, oh, we want to take input from the community, but like there's been certain things like I think the hash pack one, right, was a good example of like once that idea was floated, that got done and then people were a part of that. Like I think that was cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with these NFT projects, especially on Hedera. It's like there's I feel like there's something for everyone. There are people out there that care only for solely for the artwork. They don't really care about the community or having being part of a community. Then there are people who care solely about utility. And I know there are projects that offer cater more towards those kind of audiences. And then you have projects that focus like us, that we focus predominantly on our communities. And I think, yeah, like I said, I think we've said this about 1,000 times, but it's always a community first project. So for us, like, it's listening out to you guys, and that's how we get better as well as a project. And yeah, I mean, if anyone.
Yeah, no, that was that you hit the mark with that, and I think to correlate something in real time, just like the jewelry collection, we
Mm.
didn't want to put something out just to put it out because we had a date marked. Sometimes these things happen where we have to push things back, but I think that just goes to show that we're for the community.
Yeah.
Always asking for feedback or questions
Yeah,
with that.
kind of like what he was saying exactly. We just wanted to make it quality and not rushed work for the community to actually hold and enjoy the art as well for the collection. So we were sad to push that back, but I mean, it's going to be really well done and just gives us a little bit more time to prepare because we're not rushing, any sales and diluting anything at all.
Yeah, and another thing is, I think we kind of discussed this briefly, Cap, is that we also don't want to like throw out a firm date next time when we launch something unless we're absolutely sure that it's gonna happen. Because I feel like that's not really fair on the community. Because I know a lot of people like reschedule their days for drops and launches and auctions, and I know it's disappointing to hear like you pushing a launch or something. So I think going forward, like we won't be exact and we won't be vague, but we kind of just like hint at a launch, possible nearing launch, until we're really sure that we can throw out a date.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's actually smart, and that was a busy weekend. I know a lot of people were saving up H bar. You got Warsome Friday, Doodle and Shady's Saturday, and then that Sunday was supposed to be grinding
Yeah, it
us.
was definitely busy. And then we had the release of Moon Shells as well, which is insane.
Yeah,
Like the first, I think, like not mass mint, I would say, but like public mint on Turtle Moon Tools, which is it was a good pilot, I would say.
How did that go for you guys? Was it smooth? Because I mentioned mine was super smooth.
Oh yeah, it was hella smooth for us. Me
yeah, it
too.
was very smooth. I know there was just like it's in beta, of course, so there's gonna be little errors, but I know checking rarity was kind of hard sometimes. But props to
Mm.
them on everything that they did. Like not hating at all because they did an amazing job.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, I
100%
thought it was
patches
great.
killed it.
And then I guess since we went on the Doodle and Shady's collab, might as well just throw this in here.
Yeah.
We're doing two whitelist giveaways for the community. One is for our exclusive club, and then the other one's going to be for Koala Gods in our Discord. And I believe that's ranked 25. So we'll be doing that.
And just a little
Huh? Go ahead.
information. Sorry, just cut you off. Just a little information on the collaboration in case you're interested. There are a total of 100, I believe, Shady's Doodles being released, with 6 of them in auction and 94 of them available for public mint. So if you win this whitelist spot, you should be able to. Well, you'll get access to the public mint.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you for throwing that
So
in there.
you're welcome. So yeah, let's go back. Let's go back into our topic. Let's explore into our topic of mental
hmm
health. Uh, Captain, do you want to go ahead and ask your questions that you have for Ekin?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so my first question was, as a professional, what would you recommend or say to someone if they are maybe like scared to get help or in a situation where they feel like they can't reach out to anyone?
Ooh, yeah, this is a really great question. I mean, I would definitely, as a professional, right, encourage them to do what they're scared to do, which is reach out. But I think what makes it really hard for people to reach out is most people that need the help the most have had really, really bad experiences with either people or environment. So isolation seems like a better option in a lot of ways. So it's about like creating new experiences with those people where they're not interacting with someone that doesn't have their best interests in mind. So I would always encourage them to talk to somebody, whether that's a trusted friend, whether that's people online, whether that's one of the things I really encourage too is like reading too. Like if you are too scared to talk to somebody, read something on the topic because there's plenty of books on trauma and it's really like actually stepping into somebody's experience most of the time, like being able to just step into somebody else's life and they're like, hey, I survived this, you can too. And there's a lot of great stuff online too, like Zoom meetings and group things where you don't even have to like turn on your camera. You can just log in and just kind of listen. So that's what I would say.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Um,
would you say like if effectively, I was just coming to the point of like, having people surround yourself with people that can actually help you or someone that you can talk to. Would you effectively say that it's better to surround yourself with people and friends that make you feel better,
Um,
or
Go ahead.
would they like, or I was just gonna say like make you feel better and actually care for you, or just because I know like a lot of people have a different types of friends. I know people have so many friends but still feel alone, right?
mhm. Mhm.
So it's kind of like hard to deduce like do your friends care about you? Are they the right people for you? And there's like all these like millions of questions.
Well, right. It's like, yeah, I mean, tons of people describe like that feeling of like having, like, they could be the life of the party, have thousands of people around them that care about and love them, and feel like they're completely lonely.
Yeah.
So it's actually more like I joke about this a lot, like with like developing a therapy relationship with someone. It's like, it's actually more important for somebody to feel like I give a shit about them than for me to actually give a shit about them.
Hmm.
And having people in your life that are just making you feel better, actually, because I think that there's this whole like too much thought on like that's being placed on like you have to feel good all the time, and I
Yeah.
think that creates a lot of pressure. Like it's okay to not be okay sometimes. It actually makes sense. Like if you get in a car accident or you lose your job, it actually makes sense that you would be upset about it. So it's almost like having people around you that are okay like sitting in a hole with you and aren't just trying to like pull you out of the hole all the time.
Yeah, so kind of
I see.
like experiencing maybe the pain you feel and dealing with it as in seeing like learning rather than just kind of pushing it away.
Yeah, like somebody coming and trying to just basically fix it from like looking down at you rather than going like, "Man, you know what? I don't actually know what to say to you. I'm just really glad that you told me."
Mhm.
So like kind of providing you comfort and
Yeah.
just like being there for you effectively.
Yeah, like being able to connect because I think we are social beings for the most part. So that connection and vulnerability of being able to allow somebody to really see you, so to speak, is really important because a lot of times we hide all the insecure parts and oftentimes we feel really alone because nobody really knows these certain parts of ourselves, like these hidden parts. And
Yeah.
that's what actually develops like a lot of the connection with people of like, oh, all these people care about me, but they don't really know me. If they really knew me, they wouldn't really like me. And I think we deal with a lot of that.
No, that's really interesting you said that because I know there are like instances where personally I also kind of sometimes feel like that, where there are moments in my life where I feel like I'm playing a character, especially when I'm in a social setting or something. It's
Yeah.
just like two versions of
Uh-huh.
me,
Or
right?
like wearing a mask.
Exactly, like wearing a mask.
Well, we all
Yeah,
want to
and
fit
I
in,
know a
you
lot of
know.
people can relate to that. It's like a common feeling almost. Um, but yeah, like it is interesting. Sometimes I do feel like that. It's like, wait, am I the person I'm projecting myself to on other people, or am I just like different when I'm alone?
You, you kind of psych yourself out sometimes with that.
Yeah, it is.
You,
It's
That's
like
true.
it trips me out.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's where it's like, I think around like 7, 8 years old is when we really start to like internalize all like that social programming that we have,
hmm
Mhm.
and like here, like this is how we should behave, so to speak. Like this was like, and when you like bring it down to like a real childlike level, like this is what it means to be a good girl, this is what it means to be a good boy, and like we kind of just know these things, like we're taught by society what that means. And it's really interesting, like a lot of times if you put like a group of small girls and small boys in the same room and they're like watching TV and a parent comes in and says, "Hey, are you guys hungry?" The boys almost always just say yes while they're still looking at the TV, and the girls typically look at one another. So it's
Why
almost
is
like
that?
they're almost like they're, because they've been taught by society oftentimes to look outside of themselves to figure
Mm.
out if they're actually hungry,
Wow.
rather than, because there's such a focus on that body image, that we're taught to not really trust ourselves so much.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's wow.
that's
Ooh, that is
That's
deep.
powerful. Yeah, dude.
that is that is deep because I don't know if for you guys, sometimes you say something and you go, is that what I mean? Like, do I trust myself in what I'm saying? Like, is this a lie or is this real or is this what I
Yeah,
want?
is this the genuine me? Is like, am I being genuine with what I'm saying? Like, is this? I
Yeah.
get you. I totally get you.
It's
It
very
is
interesting.
interesting. It's a
Wow.
lot of like, what's the word? Uh, oh, I forgot. There's like a word that kind of describes this perfectly. I wouldn't say self-awareness, but it's like along that line.
Like self
Um,
actualization
yes,
or
yes,
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah.
yes. Basically,
Yeah, it's not easy to do, because a lot of times, like depending on what culture we're growing up in, what our family looks like, a lot of times we're taught not to be our authentic selves. Like there's this fear of being an authentic self because we're going to hurt one of our parents, we're going to make things really difficult for somebody in our lives that we care about. So a lot of times we learn to protect them, but we don't really realize that we might be sacrificing like who we are.
Yeah.
no,
No,
I
that's
get you.
definitely true. Yeah, definitely. And that's what kind of like I like this community, just like on Discord and stuff. You kind of just like have your own profile pictures to describe what you like and show, and then be able to talk how you want to talk, and you just kind of yourself without seeing other body images or other people and then getting maybe feeling judged in your own head.
Right. It's why people a lot of times gravitate towards like online communities, right? Because there's a sense of like being able to express without as much fear of like somebody bullying or persecuting. There's like a little bit more acceptance a lot of the times, depending on the community, right? Depends on the culture of the community
And the
too.
social pressure as well, right? Because there's like you're kind of like you're in your comfort zone and like you're safe, so you feel like you can kind of just express yourself fully.
Yeah, I think COVID's made this tough too,
Oh yeah.
because we kind of got out of that routine of socializing with people,
Mm.
Hmm.
and that was really stressful for people. And then you might have even got used to not having to do it, and then it might seem really overwhelming when you're having to do it now again. So it's difficult. Like I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine.
I think it's gonna be like kind of like having to adjust, right? Like people, it's gonna be a long time, like because I know when this all started out, people were so excited. Like I was so excited, like oh my god, I got no like I was at university at the time, and I was like oh my god, no more classes. I'm literally stuck at home for 4 weeks. Yeah, that's gonna be so fun. And then
Mm,
like 4 weeks or like about a month and a half later, I'm like holy shit, this is terrible. Like I want to get out and I can't go out. I feel like I'm stuck in a prison,
Yeah,
like my own prison.
I believe it's been officially 2 years. I was looking through some photos before we started, and I saw like how my town had the COVID red and yellow. We had like 30 cases or so, and
Yeah.
that was like 2 years ago. It was like March 18th, and now now we just ended the mask mandate for us in our city and stuff, and it's interesting to, it, you don't like Ekam mentioned about socializing. Sometimes you don't realize that you're being antisocial until you take a step back and go, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's an important first step is like if you're doing something like I wouldn't say like a bad behavior, but if you're like doing something that's not good for you and and you're aware of it and you realize it and you know you need to fix it and you actually take the steps to fix it, like I think that's fine. I think that's good. But I know
Yeah,
that some people like once they get used to something and especially if it's not good for them, they'll just fall deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole because it's like a comfort zone kind
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
and
No,
they don't want
yeah,
to come out of
that's
it.
true. Yeah. And once you get in the hole, it's really hard to come out,
Oh yeah,
and it just
100%.
gets deeper every time.
and when people, for example, let's say someone is upset or in that area, and you ask them, you're trying to comfort them, and you ask them what's wrong, and they go, I don't know. Well, there's always a reason to I don't know. There's always something behind the I don't know. And sometimes you might not even know yourself, and that's where you have to self-reflect and really figure that out for
Oh, that's true.
yourself. I don't know why I'm upset. Well, figure out what you're doing to make you upset, or an action, or you see something or read something or just anything, to kind of figure that out for yourself so you can not do that and not feel like that.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly kind of like how I feel too. Like if I ever
Mm.
get like a random emotion, because humans are mostly just emotion, and I'll go in the journal and I'll just like write down and self-reflect like,
Mm.
am I mad because maybe I'm jealous of this, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? In any
Yeah,
situation, there's always something that leads to something.
Hmm.
exactly. Um, so
But
in that, oh, go ahead, Guac.
no. Go no, say your point. No problem.
Okay, okay. Um, so and I picked up these skills. I'm open with it, but I did therapy and stuff like that, and there shouldn't be a stigmatism behind it. Saying, oh, you do therapy. Well, everyone should talk about their issues and get it out, because if you don't, it just builds up, and then you might explode because of a small issue. You know, you might you know break you might break a picture or something on accident, and then be really upset because all these other stuff, or a conversation you had with the person, or just something. And so it's really good to get that, you talk about it, because if not, it just builds up, and then builds
No,
up and builds up, and then it just explodes, and you
Into
might not
panic
even.
attacks and stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
no, it's really interesting that you raised that because like that was actually something I wanted to ask Ekim because he touched upon it too, like with in terms of how society and culture like play a role in mental health. So we know they play a significant role in how like how it's how mental health is perceived. Some cultures embrace it and some and like embrace mental health and seeking the like required help for it, while others may mock it or kind of look down upon it or see it as some sort of sign of weakness, especially for men. Like where it's in modern society, men are just known to not be people of or a gender of emotion, right? And that's why I wanted to kind of get Ekim's thoughts on this, like how most men are molded to kind of suppress their emotions, like rather than express it. Why do you
Mhm.
think that exists?
Why do I think that exists?
Yeah,
Well, I think it's come down to, I mean, we could probably go way, way back into like, like barbarian type days where it was all about, just like hunter gathering type
hmm,
scenario, like survival of the fittest type scenario. So
yeah.
there
yeah,
wasn't really that much time for like like what do my emotions mean, or expressing of my emotions. It was a lot about survival, because like our brains don't really have that ability. Like fear is built in as a survival mechanism, right? So it's like if a rock's about to fall on our head, we don't have time to like look up and go like, well, what is the meaning of this rock that's about to fall on my head? It's like I either have to move or like try to block the rock or whatever I'm going to do. Like I have to survive. So
Right.
I think we've been a lot of times trained throughout society to be that stronger species, like quote unquote like strength. And a lot of like
Mhm.
strength is like, well, it means like not showing any type of perceived weakness, which is often fear,
Right.
right? So then you see like that suppression. I really think like below anger, which I think Buck really touched on, is like below anger, the only thing that's really there is fear and pain,
Mhm.
right? But most men often that are the most angry are really depressed.
Right.
So it's like this we've been molded to be able to express anger and have it be looked upon as like an okay expression versus fear or any other type of like sadness, right?
Mm.
Um, because I think it would require like a huge shift in society, right, to be more emotionally expressive.
Mhm.
I think it's just so ingrained in culture that it takes a lot of generations to get through it. Like I
Mm.
see a lot of like generational trauma stuff to where it's like Native Americans are a big one of like so much trauma went through like in the United States especially to where like they effectively tried to like wipe them off the face of the earth or like their culture pretty much too.
Mhm.
So there's so much generational trauma within that culture now to where there's so much fear about like culture expression that they had to have a lot of just work on it to be able to rebuild their culture because so much of the older generation was influencing the younger generation to not learn their language
Mhm.
because they had been so traumatized by because they were speaking their language, like people like getting their fingers cut off and like stuff like that for just speaking language in sort of like boarding schools and stuff. So all those parents are like, I'm not telling my kids that I love them or that it's okay to speak a language. We need to scare them because we don't want them to get hurt. Right. So that's totally suppressing all that generational trauma.
So
That's
how would one cope with trauma?
Oh, that's a big question.
It depends on the person as well and the trauma, I guess.
yeah.
So not being so
Thought so as well.
specific with the type
Okay.
of trauma, but just having
Sure.
trauma from, anything. How
You
would
mean
a
like
person cope with that?
some basic
So
remedies or something?
yeah, so I'll take this. So I think a good place to start with was like what is trauma actually? My like definition of trauma is anything that overwhelms your ability to cope on like a mind, body, spirit level. Anyone. Like any type of event or experience. So you need to be able to figure out how to often then cope with that past trauma that you had because often like trauma is not really about like what happened to you like the actual event. It's about how you're now reacting in the present based on what happened to you or what didn't happen to you. So you're really having to almost like rebuild or recalibrate like these safety areas in your brain because that's really what happens with trauma is it is we all have that car alarm in our body for fear like to say like okay wake up pay attention I'm going to have to either fight somebody or run away and eventually because we all have that calibration it gets out of whack like if you've experienced a lot of trauma you can if you think of the body like a car alarm it's almost like some people's car alarms are super sensitive. Like a car alarm's just there to like alert you. Like somebody
Mhm.
might be stealing my car. But if your car alarm's going off because a bird is landing on the hood, that's a huge problem,
Mm.
right? So if you're constantly experiencing something as a threat when it's not really a threat, that's how trauma really impacts people in the present. It's just their car alarm's always going off. their internal car alarm. So it just that's a panic attack, right? That's what a panic attack is, essentially like a fight or flight response.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So with trauma, it's not. You can get really good at learning like coping skills for it. Like, what do I do when I start to panic? Like, whether that's deep breathing or listening to music or doing some yoga, or like there's working out, there's like talking to someone, there's a variety of things that you can kind of do to cope with that. But in my opinion, trauma has to be like processed. Like, you have to be able to kind of feel those emotions that weren't felt in the moment
Mm-hmm.
because it was too overwhelming.
Mm.
Like, your body went into survival mode, and that part of the brain that we're having a conversation in right now, it goes away. It just goes dark because you have to survive. So you don't really get to put words or understanding to it. Your brain kind of plays catch up and then goes, well, what does this all mean about me?
Right.
And then we have a story about ourselves, and that
Yeah.
story is oftentimes wrong. Like, it's like very
So
biased,
like
and
we
it's
kind of we tend to overthink, like people who are experiencing trauma, they're overthinking like to the max, right? They're thinking of all the possible worst scenarios that could be happening.
they're thinking of, yeah, their body's programmed to like pick up on it, right?
Right.
Like, so your body, like you're looking around and you're immediately like checking things for exits, or like checking, you go into a building, maybe you're looking and at where's the nearest exit. Their brain's kind of been programmed to like survive, so to speak. So and the hard part about it is trauma is really, really personal too. It's not, it can be something traumatizing, can be being left at a grocery store for like 10 minutes when you're a child, not thinking your parents ever going to come back, or it could be, actually being in a war, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's so, and I think that's the big problem with our society right now, is there's a huge trauma problem, but we're still not talking about it very much. It's getting
Because I think
better.
yeah,
Go
because
ahead.
I think a lot of people, they like people maybe who are not actually seeking any help or counseling or such. They just kind of like negate what they're feeling as like regular emotion. They think they've just kind of normalized it maybe or internalized it to the point where they're just like, yeah, this is just normal, when in fact it's not, right? They're going through some shit, but they're just ignoring it effectively.
Right. Right. Yeah. And they're essentially not, I mean, they might not even be consciously avoiding it. It just might be, just their way that they're trying to cope with it. They might not even be that aware that they're avoiding it.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's where it goes to the self-reflection part, because, like you said, sometimes they don't know they're doing it. Um, that's where it gets tricky. Where you have to be open-minded. When someone's not right, you have to, like I said earlier, kind of take a step back and reflect on why you're feeling like that, or what causes these emotions to happen.
Right.
That's true. I know we were touching upon like the topic of men and like fight or flight, and the whole thing about not wanting, well, not backing down effectively from fear. Like I was just thinking about it, like one of the most common like social pressure, I would say it's like a social pressure like phrase that I've heard throughout my life, especially in college: don't be a pussy or be a man. Like
Yeah,
you could say two of those phrases and it would get a guy to, well, most guys to do whatever the fuck he wanted them to do. All they had, like I know, like there were some guys like they would not want to do something, right? Completely against it. And then you just be don't be a pussy, and then suddenly they'll do it. And I've always intrigued me what like causes people to like suddenly just like perk up and do whatever the fuck like people ask them to.
that's true though. Yeah,
You
honestly.
know, it
Yeah,
is
it's a
a, it
huge
is a strange
motivation.
world. Sorry, what were you saying?
It's a huge motivation right there. There's like, that's one of the biggest motivating things for men to hear, like antagonizing, like, oh, don't be a pussy, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like it's just crazy. Like we've kind of just we're constantly having to like we can't show any form of like weakness. Otherwise, we'll get like you said, we just get antagonized for it.
Yeah, and I think it's getting much better, but I think it also depends on where you are and what culture you're in, right? Like I can say, like I think me and Buck were having a conversation about this, is it depends, like even like if you're in the States, like what state you're in, because there's a lot more rural areas where there's not as much access to things, and
Mm,
still the culture is very not supportive of mental health,
Hmm.
right? But then
mhm,
other areas might, be very supportive. It might be a lot more progressive, like a lot of European countries are, like places like Denmark, and then other, even like, um, just north of me is like, in Canada, right? They're really supportive of mental health. Um, in some in other areas, there's not as much. Like walk, I don't know as much as where from where you're at, how supportive it is there.
So that's again another interesting point that you raised. So I'm in India, right? And I'm from the south of India, and a lot of my family members are very traditionalistic, very culturally traditionalistic. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. India has like a caste system, right?
Hmm.
So I come from a caste called Brahmins, and Brahmins typically are very uptight societies in India, right? They have like rules they live by, very very like kind of I would say, what's the word? Like I would say borderline fascist type of rules, although I don't follow it. But I know. I remember I was having this conversation with my family because there was a time about 2 years ago where I was kind of not. I wasn't saying I'm a low point of my life, but I was just feeling a bit off, right, mentally. So I wanted to kind of talk to someone, talk to a professional about it, and see what was wrong to kind of just figure out what was going on inside my head.
yeah.
And I remember telling my aunt about it, and she was like, "Why do you need to go? Like, are you like a crackhead or something? What's wrong with you?" And I was just thinking like, damn, like this is, and like my parents said the same thing. Like my parents were like, like, do you really need to go to visit like a therapist? Like honestly, we should be having to deal with you or stuff like this, right? We joke around technically, but you kind of makes you think like, oh shit, this is how my family like perceives it, like the whole topic of mental health, and it's just intriguing to me. But like whereas when I speak with this like from my friends who live overseas, like you said, in more I would say developed countries in Europe or America, wherever, it's completely normal. Like they're quite supportive and positive about it. And yeah, I think honestly it just does come down to cultures and
Yeah.
like societies.
So back to what you were saying, there's a, like how your family was saying, oh, are you a crackhead and stuff like that. Like how are like your parents or anyone going to tell you that, oh, you don't have something? Like you're going to say you have anxiety or stuff, and like how is someone going to tell you, oh no, you don't have that. Oh, you don't need help. Like that. That to
I
me,
think it's like
that
a parent trait, you know. It's they assume they understand you. So my parents assume they understand me entirely. Like they know me better than I know myself, kind of like
Mm.
mentality. So with my parents, they just like they kind of shrug it off as like you're just lazy, right? You're lazy, you're unmotivated. That's it. That's what
Mm.
they've kind of packaged in for me. When like obviously as like an individual, I know it's much deeper, but I truthfully haven't like bothered exploring it because I have like way too much to do. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it is like that's just how some families are, some cultures are. I think it is what it is. That's my phrase.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the perception is too like that like if you get to the point where you're seeing like a professional, it means that there's already something wrong. Like I
Yeah,
think that is something, like because it's like typically with physical health, like people get checkups, they go in even if it's like a couple times a year, just to like make sure everything's working well. Like we get blood tests, we get like all kinds of things just to
yeah,
make sure like where our physical health is doing well, but we don't do that as much for mental health.
that's very true. Oh, I
Like
see.
there's like a thought like if you're going to see a therapist, you must have depression. Like you must be you might must meet like the definitions that people have come up for anxiety, and that I think that is that's difficult. I think that keeps a lot of people out of, seeking, just exploration with a professional.
Yeah, I think the thing is in my culture, right? When they think of mental health, they think of like the very severe cases that
Yeah.
people go through of mental health, like super severe. I'm talking like
Hmm.
bipolar disorder or like severe psychosis or
Mm.
anything like that.
Right.
And that's what they've kind of like associated to. So when you say you're just going to like talk to someone, like they think like they'll always think the extreme. At least that's how it is in my culture and like my family. Uh, but yeah, it's yeah, you're kind of on point on that what you were
Um,
mentioning.
so Ekam, so when I don't know if you can answer this. So when someone comes in
Hmm.
for the first time,
Hmm.
do they know exactly what's wrong, or do they have to talk it out and figure it out themselves?
I think a lot of people want that typically go in to seek treatment, they already know that something's wrong, right? Sometimes it can help to put an actual name to something. But for me, even if somebody meets the criteria for a particular diagnosis, it doesn't actually inform um, too much how I'm working with the individual. Like, sure, I'm going to target things like anxiety and depression, and at the same time, just if somebody checks a box for meeting this particular criteria, it doesn't change too much where how I'm working with them. So a lot of times the why or like isn't so important for people. Like, why do I meet, like what is wrong with me? Most people that I see actually have a lot of insight. They're not really coming to me because they have like an insight problem. They're normally coming to me because something's going on like in their body or emotionally.
And they're trying
It's
to
not
figure
because
out
they
what it
don't.
is.
Yeah, it's not because they don't really understand it. Like most people can put words like, "Oh, I had this experience in childhood," or "I
Mm-hmm.
had, um, I had a really tough breakup," or "There was this trauma here." It's not. But most people come in is because they're having their body kind of attack them. What feels like that they're being attacked by their body, right? Like I can't manage this anymore.
Yeah, and that's for anyone listening out there, like we were talking about, you don't have to know, oh, I have this, this, and this wrong. If you just know something's wrong and how you're feeling, it's good to, talk to somebody if you feel comfortable enough to express it. You know, it,
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
suggest like find someone you trust, like your friend, close family member, just talk to them. Or even I think there are these helplines now that you can access to, or just talk like I guess there are
Mm.
people that you can just talk to about anything. Um, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and
you
then
can
even
just
if you
you
don't
can
feel like
trust.
talking to anyone,
Mm.
a lot I do like a lot of journaling, and then one thing that helps me personally is taking a walk, getting voice memos out on my phone. Just going through all my stressors and delete it after I'm done. Feels a lot better, honestly.
Mhm.
um, so since we're on the topic of, mental health and stuff, this is what it's about. Um, should we talk about what's happening in May?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Buck, I think you can brief people on it.
Okay, so just a quick, brief discussion. So in May, we will be doing a mental health charity, awareness, because in May it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And we'll be hosting it on the Koala Club Palace, and we're looking just for, if any projects out there want to donate an NFT to it, we'll be doing auctions. More details with that to come, but 100% of profits is going to um, charities to help with awareness, or we have a few charities lined up in our head to do that with.
Yeah.
But I think it'd just be a great, awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We want to. It's not necessarily like a just koala collection. We definitely want to get a form out, have some projects sign up, and get as many projects as we can, build something up, and be able to donate to a mental health charity to help out. For the whole community. It would be awesome to see that.
Yeah, I know.
I think.
You know, there's resources out there. There, for example, there's I can't think of it exactly. It's like text now, not some texting category where you can, like, if you just need to talk to somebody, sometimes talking to a stranger is more relieving than talking to someone you know, because then they know all those details, and sometimes you might not want those people to know that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that that one good thing that did come out of COVID is a lot. It kind of forced a lot of people in a lot of different spaces to go more online with meeting.
Hmm.
So there's a lot more mental health like access with through like telehealth, through like online means, which can be really good if you're in more of a rural community or there's not a lot of good access, right? You can then have some access that reaches farther, because
Yeah.
it's like if you're in a town with like 100 people or something like
Right.
that, and okay, maybe you have one therapist, but you're going to see that therapist at the grocery store,
Yeah.
right? Like that might be, if you're like at all these different, there's going to be like such like a different, like a dual kind of relationship with them
Hmm.
that it makes things difficult. So that is one thing that is kind of good that came out of like the whole COVID thing, is it forced a lot of different industries to go more online. So it
Yeah.
creates a lot more access for people.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Totally.
we had a few. Our town's pretty. I don't know. It's kind of small. Not. I mean, it's
It's getting
big, but
bigger.
kind of
It's
small.
growing.
Yeah.
Like
Um.
that Hedera space.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We had we have some therapists here and so forth, but when COVID hit, um those people, you couldn't go in the offices and stuff like that. So like you were mentioning, a lot went online, and it's really helpful, because if you have some social anxiety, you're talking to your computer, if that's a good mindset to think, to express. Um, so back to the point, but it's just, it might be relieving not to have to go in the office and have to be seen, you get checked in and all that
You're in
stuff.
the
It might.
comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could be hanging out petting your dog, right?
Mhm.
Or you're
Yeah.
talking to someone like that's one of the things that can be, I think, really helpful. I think some people prefer to go in to see people in person too. But I think it really all comes down to preference. Like when you look at a lot of studies for like therapeutic, like therapy being effective, typically it doesn't come down to like what theory you're using. It's all about the relationship that the therapist has with the person that they're working with. Are you working on what the person wants to work on? Like, are you addressing their goals? And are you doing it in a way that they're comfortable doing, like their preferences, so to speak?
Yeah.
And that really is what comes down. What I find is most effective, and even when you look at research, it's not like, are you using this particular therapy that has kind of this great amount of evidence, because in reality you're never going to do something or be open to do trying something if you don't really trust the person you're working with or you have a good relationship.
Yeah, I just want to throw something funny in there. Actually, I've had a couple therapists, and one that I went to for a while, he actually lives in my neighborhood. So he
There you
lives a
go.
couple hours
Right.
down. So yeah, there you go. It's a good example.
Right, you're like
Yeah.
making eye contact, throwing out your trash, you're like,
Yeah, I
hey.
saw him mowing the lawn last summer, and I was like, oh, rip.
Yeah, that's funny. It's yeah, that awkward part. That's where it can get tricky. But that's
Yeah.
funny. He's moaning.
So, well, this has been really great, but actually, guys, we're getting really, really close to crunch time here. If you made it this far listening in, we really appreciate you. This has been a super long episode, and I really just want to thank Ekim for hopping on here and giving, like, sparing some time in his day to talk to
Yep.
us about this in depth. We really appreciate you, man, and hope to see you around more in the community, obviously.
Yep, of course, I'll be here.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, before we conclude, I just want to like briefly go over like some stuff that was worth mentioning in the podcast. First, Buck, do you have any update on the merch?
Yes, it should be shipping out. I'm gonna check the email real quick, but it's been paid. It's all been sorted. Just waiting. Let me check.
Okay.
Um, you want to talk about
Yeah, while you're checking, we can do the next update. Our jewelry collection, we're definitely working, hard to push that out. It's we got a sketch today. It's looking really good actually. So I'm pretty excited. And just a little detail: the auction winners will receive a in real life ring. You can just hit me up in the DMs if you want to see more pictures of them. But I ordered one first, and it's really good quality. I personally like it. I wear it every day. And then also the winners of the auction will be entered to win a free Koala Club chain. So you can wear it around your neck and stuff. It's pretty cool.
oh yeah.
Very nice,
Um,
very nice.
okay,
Yeah,
so
Buck.
with the merch, just waiting for a response. They're closed on the weekends. And so today's Sunday. Um,
Mhm.
so it should be. This is 4 days ago, so it said 2 to 5 days. Should have an update. So should have an update tomorrow with the merch. Um, the international shipping takes a little bit longer just because it's international.
Yeah, we had to get that all set up for international and shipping, and a lot of
We had
talking
to
on the phone with
yeah,
Buck and
we had to change
We'll,
some
we'll,
stuff,
yeah,
but
TBD, TBD.
yes,
yep,
yes.
soon.
Uh, back to the
Soon,
jewelry
very soon.
collection coming up April 3rd. Any benefits with that?
Ooh.
That yeah, that's a good topic that we will talk.
We need to claim for another episode.
Next episode, we'll throw that
Um,
out.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw that in
yeah,
there.
and we're having some giveaways planned. We'll release more info on that, but there's more to come, especially if you're in VIP, as well as something a little special, like we mentioned already for those in the God rank. And lastly, before like we end this, I just want to briefly talk about the floor price and the koala market. I
Oh
know that's
yeah,
been a bit
great
of a hot
topic.
topic. Yeah. Listen, I know it's been kind of like iffy. I know a lot of you guys have been trying to sell, and truthfully speaking, this market is a little bit in the gutter. Like I think a lot of projects, it's just not us. It's happening on all projects. It's the sales are stagnating a bit. Buyers are a little bit like uh non-existent.
It's
I
cross
wouldn't
chain
say
as well.
non-existent. Yeah, I mean it's not very like incentivizing for people to really buy unless the odd person here or there that are wanting to collect for EVIP or VIP. In Koala's case, that is. But I do think the sentiment will change. I don't think this is like something that's permanent.
Yeah, no.
We are looking at ways to go around this. I know there's been a couple of ideas that have been floated around from members of the community, and we're looking into it. We're exploring all options, and we'll keep you updated as we go. And
Also, yeah,
yeah,
I want to throw
that's
something
that's
on
all.
there. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
for
Yeah.
what
So
Guac was
that's
saying.
it from me. But Captain, yeah,
Yeah,
take
yeah.
over.
So basically, what he was saying with that market and stuff, not financial advice, in my opinion, only. For something I'm doing for my own portfolio on NFTs is this is the time to stack, and just in my opinion, because since the market's down, this is what we're looking like. But once with a lower volume, obviously, because people are looking for liquidity too, so they're going to be, paper handing a little bit. You might get a good deal. Market pumps, people take, profit, and there you go. Like that's my plan. So
Mhm.
it's a positive to a negative outlook. So
Yeah,
Yeah, it's never a bad thing to diversify. We are hetera lovers here. We love hetera, and everything it stands for, but it's never a crime to diversify.
Mhm.
Mhm. And
Oh,
yeah, that's really it from me. Thank you for tuning in here. Thank you again for all the guys that showed up here, Captain Koala, Buck, Ekim. It's been a good episode, a little bit longer than usual, but we really hope you guys
A lot of
enjoyed
good
the
stuff
episode.
to take
Drop
from
drop a
this.
comment, quality if you made it this far. I wanna see who made it this far.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And
say
have a great
quality
weekend,
in the
guys.
comments.
And yo,
Hey,
take care.
enter. Okay, okay. How about this one? If you stayed this long, and you put quality in our comments, then we will do. We'll enter you into a giveaway for a whitelist spot.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
Drop two.
Yeah,
ooh, we should have
Yes.
like a
oh
special
wow.
word or something that they listen
quality.
that they have.
Quality.
Quality. Ooh, yes. Okay, yes. You have to DM us this word, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
And if
DM us and drop a
Wow.
yes,
comment on YouTube.
yes, exactly.
I'm gonna
Yes.
do it right now.
He's getting ahead of the game.
Hey, speaking of Eckham in that exclusive club and VIP club, they're getting a
Oh yeah,
whitelist airdrop very
congratulations.
soon.
And
Yeah.
Ooh.
there's talk
And
of doing EVIP collection. Don't know when, right? But soon.
A lot of updates.
Soon
Yeah,
to me.
a lot of
Yeah.
updates.
Mm. We'll keep you all informed as always. So, yeah, take care, have a great weekend, and see you in the next podcast episode, I guess next week,
Hopefully. All right, see you guys.
all right.
hopefully. See you.